We are live. Welcome to Rewriting Reality. I am Shiraz, your reality shifting specialist. And today we have a guest, Paige Spears. Now, Paige is an integrative wellness connector for brain injury survivors. She's an author and a speaker on personal resilience. And you were in the Resilient Entrepreneur Summit, weren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I went to that one.
Yeah, I seem to remember you from that. Then the word resilience just popped up for me. So, okay, so I have a little bit of a bio for you here. It's like, after surviving pulmonary embolism and anoxic, is that right?
Yeah,
Anoxic,
anoxic.
anoxic brain injury at 32, Paige channeled her innate resilience into recovery, finding whole person therapies centered around bringing all systems into balance in a way that would fill in all the pieces and complement allopathic medicine. This brought in Paige's entrepreneurial vision of connecting other undersupported brain injury survivors with integrative, holistic, functional, and bioregulatory resources and practitioners. In addition, Paige speaks and writes about her recovery path. So, welcome to the show, Paige.
Thank you,
And
Shiraz.
welcome. And yeah, I thought it would be great to have you on to talk about resilience, talk about what happened. And I gave that brief summary that you had that the embolism. So, can you tell us a little bit more what happened there?
Yeah, that whole thing was really something. And the causes that I've identified as being likely contributing factors were less than optimal nutrition, and that caused microbiome dysregulation, and that would have messed up the neurotransmitters. And I was also taking antibiotics for a few years, and that didn't help things, and neither did the antibiotics after getting my wisdom teeth taken out in 2005. So that set me up for medications for about 12 years to try to help with the anxiety. But that probably just made it worse since I then became medication tolerant and was up and down with the dosages for a few years, and it all built up in my system. And another thing that contributed was that I couldn't find any employment that really fit me or would pay me what I was worth. So I was struggling in a lot of categories, and then it finally caught up with me, and it happened at work actually. And ironically, at the time, I was working at a collections firm in the medical claims department.
Okay.
Yeah, I, I couldn't breathe, and my I blacked out, and my heart stopped.
Ouch.
And
Okay.
that whole recovery process took 6 weeks total inpatient. Although my care team at the University Hospital said they'd never seen a cardiac case come off breathing in less than 24 hours.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of stuff going on, but apparently you're stunning the people that are involved there.
Yeah, I'm tough, all right.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, you're still with us here, and you're doing so much with your life right now and helping other people.
Yeah, I'm making a point of doing that since it took me a lot of initial recovery and research, and I'm still dealing with symptoms. Like, it took me a good 6 months before I could confidently read small print again and all the words that I used to read. I can do it again now, just at a slower speed. Although I've been working on that with, I've I've seen behavioral ophthalmologist, and I got my first prism prescription in my glasses from that practitioner, and that's helped some to even things out and make things clearer. So I've really been working with my functional neurologist on that also, and I have new exercises of looking at a dot going across the screen in a certain pattern and following that. The functional neurologist is one that I came up with in my own research after watching the Brain Health Summit. And although that was geared heavily towards traumatic brain injury survivors, and mine was non traumatic, to say that there was no physical structural damage involved. And that's also an area where I feel that there aren't enough resources, so I want to help fill in the gaps and give the other non-traumatic brain injury survivors equal access to resources and things being discussed.
Okay, so when you're talking about giving other people access to those resources, what do you think that people that are just getting traditional help are lacking the most right now?
Traditional medical practitioners don't usually look at all the angles. What I was getting before, it was okay for a while, but even traditional neurology typically only prescribes medications to help with things. And well, I had spasms, bad spasms in my lower left leg that went all the way to my toes for about 6 to 8 months. And that was ongoing nearly 24/7 for a lot of those months. And painkillers didn't do much. And even all the Tylenol was only helpful to a degree. So then the things that I was taking, well, one of them, so they were muscle relaxers, and
Mhm.
it helped a little bit, but it was only a band-aid for the situation, and the whole situation was likely caused by um, that none of the traditional PTs could do much to help me with um, neuro neuromotor repatterning that probably came all apart when I had the brain injury, since it was I was walking for a little bit, but then it, it was slow and things weren't connecting completely the way they could have optimally. And at least functional neurology has helped me more in the last few years, although it would have been better for me if I'd had that right away. And my walking and developmental patterns could have been assessed.
Wow. So how did you know, or how did you figure out to find a functional neurologist?
That was one of the speakers on the Brain Health Summit, and
No.
the symptoms discussed fit what I was dealing with and I wanted information about. And that sees the whole picture and which areas of the brain have to do with which body functions and how to optimize those.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've also been working with a somatic practitioner to reintegrate the patterns and and help me to have a better relationship with them.
Okay, you're going to have to help me here because I have no idea what a somatic practitioner is.
Somatic awareness is awareness of physical body and movement patterns, and it can also help a lot in emotional areas too.
Oh, wow. How does it help in emotional areas?
Like if someone has emotional trauma stored physically in their body somewhere, a bit like you were discussing earlier today.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that there was actually a formal practice out there of releasing that emotional energy. I mean, I know I do it, but I didn't think there was an actual term for it. So,
Yeah, yeah. And other therapies that have helped me are chiropractic work, where my chiropractor works with a device to roll down the spine to check for nerve interference. And for adjustments, they use an FDA approved tool called an integrator, and that vibrates bones back into place. And I found my chiropractor through actually a list given by a guest speaker at the brain injury support group here in Missouri after I had been to the brain injury support group in Illinois also. So everything happened in when I lived in Missouri, and Well, I still do now full time, but I went back to Illinois for a while to recover with my parents and do outpatient therapy. And so it was actually at the support group in Illinois where I found out about therapeutic horseback riding. And I got started with that and did that for 8 months or so with private lessons twice a week. And then moving back to Missouri, I started group classes and I've been doing that for 3 seasons a year for the last few years too. And I've brought the therapeutic riding instructor here to the support group to be a guest speaker as well as the functional neurologist.
Wow. Okay. I've heard of, I think it's called equine therapy, where you're just
Equine
hanging out
assisted
with the horse.
therapy.
Yeah. But I've never heard of therapeutic horseback riding, because in my mind, if you're on the horse and you're riding, isn't that going to shake things up rather than fix things? Like, how does that work?
Well, it reactivates certain muscle groups, and the movement of the horse is compatible with the walking motion of a person. And in the private lessons, I did things like I rode with sidewalkers, people walking alongside, and
Mhm.
so I could switch positions while the horse was moving and sit with my legs either both facing the side or the back of the horse also. And then I did things with my arms like holding a ball and twisting to each side or my arms in the air. And I did something kind of unique with my instructor in Illinois where I would hold one end of a PVC pole in each hand and she would then hold the other ends and walk behind the horse and help me get some arm swing going.
Hmm. Okay. Oh, so this is all gentle horses walking therapy. You never actually like having the horse gallop.
No,
Okay,
yeah.
that's because in my mind I went straight to gallop, and I'm like, how is that going to help you?
Not quite.
Okay.
I've cantered a little bit in the group lessons, and
Mhm.
the horse in question, the instructor said she hadn't seen him canter in some years.
Wow.
And the one horse that I rode recently in the last few years, also, there was a small bar set up in the middle of the arena, like
Mhm.
about a few inches off the ground, and we were going over it at a trot, and he jumped over it. That was fun.
Nice. Oh, wow. Okay. And so most people that are dealing with and like trying to recover aren't accessing these techniques, these practitioners.
Yeah, I've had to create my own whole person healing team.
Okay, so who's on your team?
The functional neurologist,
Yep.
therapeutic horseback riding instructors,
Mhm.
my somatic practitioner, and the chiropractor.
Okay, so the ones you've just been mentioning, that's the whole team now.
Yeah,
And
and also some energy work practitioners like there's a Reiki practitioner who also does massage, and she does group Reiki shares every month. And I've been going to those in person again now.
nice. Okay. So
There's
you
also
said,
other kinds of energy work that I've done on my own. Like I did a whole year and a half of training with Integrated Medicine Institute, and that was online. And that was all about identifying using charts to with essences and emotions and self images, and after a while, herbs and crystals to use muscle testing to put together stories to release and use the rays and herbs and crystals and symbols to heal the stories. And then there's also human design, and I really like that. And I've just done another 5 day challenge with that, and I've been on their weekly evolution reports listening to that on Clubhouse.
okay.
So yeah, I have a whole astrological planetary purpose story that I got out of one of the events too.
Okay. Sounds like you're keeping really busy right now.
I have been, yeah.
All right. I have a question. You talked about you when you were recovering, you're having the problems with the eyes. Was that the most frustrating part of your recovery?
Yeah, and having to be a lifer on Xarelto since, well, really no practitioners that I've talked to will touch it since it was such a near fatal incident. And even though I'm thinking that it was the medications that caused it, there hasn't been anything offered as an alternative, like naturally speaking, that would have the same effect.
Okay. And so when you got this injury, was it just something that came on, or were there factors in your life that led to it? That is there things you can tell people like this can lead to this kind of an injury?
The factors that I mentioned, I also, in combination with those medications, had office jobs for 2 years ongoing. And well, one of them was a temporary office job, and that lasted for about 6 months total. And then the last job at the law firm, I had a gym membership with them, and I used that a lot after work. And I was also in a musical, although those only lasted from, say, September until March. And by then, I had taken a gene site test to find out if I had any genetic interactions with the medications. And it turns out that I did have some the potentially serious genetic interactions with the medications that I've been taking the longest. And I was in the process of trying to go off of those when everything happened.
Wow. Okay. So you've you've gone through the brain injury, you've gone through recovery, you found out what was missing, you put those pieces in place. So at what point did you decide, okay, this isn't just for me, I need to help all these people? When did that occur to you that this has to go out there?
I was 2 years into it when I was ready to speak about it, and I've been working uh, on that and getting myself out there gradually since then, like on podcasts like this one, and now on Clubhouse. And I, in uh, fall of 2019, I got a free ticket to the Women Starting Movements event in Chicago, and so I went to that. And it was the first big trip that I'd been on my own since my injury, and that was a really big deal. And I did the whole thing of getting the train tickets and roommate arrangement figured out in an Airbnb, and so went to the event, and I was I just had the free ticket to the the second of the 2 days. The first day was to the VIP day that my roommate had paid for, and so then the second day was where I went into it hoping to make some more connections, and what I ended up getting out of it was the this full year program scholarship to Thought Leader Academy. That it
Oh.
was the first year that the program facilitator Sarah Cannell had done that, and so there was a very generous scholarship donor, and so that's been the case for a few years, and so that was in the same year that I was finishing the Energy Medicine Institute program, and I was also doing a year-long human design program, and I had to work for that, and everything really fit together nicely.
Mhm. Wow. You just things are just aligning for you on your journey through the recovery there.
Yeah.
Okay. And for if someone wants to be in your program, do they have to come to Missouri or?
No, what I'm doing now is I'm creating a program for uh, high level corporate people looking to transition into entrepreneurship and how they can do that through creating a directory of professionals in their field and work on their terms. And it's all online,
It's all online. Okay. So you're training trainers is what you're doing.
training professionals. Yeah.
Okay. So you're training professionals. But if someone wants to go through and go to the program, because it sounds to me like there's a lot of hands-on activities right? Because you've got the massage therapist, you've got the chiropractor. So if people want this program, do they have to go to the people you've trained? Do they have to come to Missouri? Or is there a way they can build that team where they are? Like
For
how
the
would you?
brain injury survivors, I would refer them to uh, other directories of professionals in those areas near them or online, and so they can assemble their own team also.
Okay. And you are the connector. You're the one that does that for people.
Yep.
Okay. And you've written a book on this.
Yeah, I'm in the process of writing about everything, and all the practitioners that have helped me are included.
Oh, nice.
And yes, I'm just finishing with, I'd like to include a nutritional psychiatrist as the expert that will complete the book.
Okay. What is a nutritional psychiatrist? Because I know what a nutritionist is and I know what a psychiatrist is, but what's that combination there?
It's someone who can look at lab work and check the levels of nutrients and required for neurotransmitter production and see what's going on there and what else needs to happen and what supplements can add to it and really help a person's mood improve. That's really
Wow.
what have helped me starting out.
That sounds like something everyone should go to at least once a year, just from what you're describing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm learning so much from you today. This is amazing. So you've started your business. You started 2 years in. You got the idea. How long has it been now? How long have you been doing this business?
I've been working on the idea starting from speaking for 3 years.
Okay. All right. And now you're speaking, you're on podcasts, and what's the direction you want to go? You want to keep teaching these professionals? And is there anything else that you want to have show up in this movement, this project that you're doing?
Yeah, getting the book completed and published is a goal of mine, and also creating the program to teach others transitioning to entrepreneurship from corporate. And then with the funding and results that I'll get from that, then I can help others in a place closer to where I was starting out recover and start their businesses.
Nice. I'm very curious though as to why you want to take professionals and turn them into entrepreneurs and not just start with entrepreneurs. Is there a plan there? Is there a reason you want to go to those high level professionals?
It's so they can have the resources that I feel like I've been missing in entrepreneurial direction and giving them a good place to start where they can generate income quickly.
Okay, great. All right. So we talked just before the show. You actually came out to one of my workshops this afternoon on the money.
Yeah,
And did you enjoy yourself?
yeah. And even listening to the other two that you helped started to shift things for me.
Okay, cool. That's the goal with those workshops. So I was wondering, since you are on the show and we have some time, is there something in your world around money or success or the business you've created here that you want to shift?
What I'd like to see in the world is more awareness and options for people who, say, are on disability benefits or
Mhm.
have had an injury and would like to see alternatives offered in vocational rehabilitation programs of referrals to programs that can help them actually start a business and maybe kind of like what I'm doing also to help other people since the emphasis would have been on just getting me back to my previous job, but that wasn't going to happen since I can't even drive anymore.
Okay. And I love the way you think is that you're so dedicated to helping other people out there,
While
and that's what
helping myself.
while helping yourself. Yep. And that's what's driving you. And yeah, I mean, I would love to help shift some of the beliefs there, but the notion of everyone else having bigger access is not something I can work directly on you. Is there an area in your life where you feel there's places you're stuck where either the success isn't coming in a big enough way, the money isn't, or you're being held back and you haven't been able to break through that?
Yeah, I felt challenged by the the employment situation where nothing aligned with me and I couldn't get paid enough for doing things that I was even somewhat interested in, like dog walking, although getting paid more for that would have meant more responsibility and it could have been more complicated. And also, even in creating a program, it's my first time doing so. And right out of the gate, I'm not completely confident that I can get paid a lot in the first iteration of the program, or even who would find my information and experience useful enough to pay a lot for.
That's interesting because just based on what you've told me here, I see a lot of value in what you've learned and what you're teaching. So if you believe people aren't willing to pay you a lot, that's a belief system that's in you, and that keeps that money from showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because I've seen people do very little and get paid a lot, and they're perfectly fine with it. And then I've seen people do a lot and get paid very little, and they're all frustrated. And it seems obvious. Well, if I'm doing a lot and I'm getting paid little, I should be frustrated. But it's the beliefs that started. It's the beliefs that people aren't going to pay me, or it's going to take a lot of effort. So I'm going to do a recap for people that are new to the show and of how I work. Is that when I'm working with someone, we have this conversation about what the belief is, what the story is running in the life. And when we get to the belief, I'll ask, are you willing to destroy that belief? Or if it's a story, are you willing to step out of that story? So I'm going to be asking Paige to destroy some beliefs and step out of some stories. When I ask her the question, ooh, there's already energy shifting. This is good. If she says yes and she means it, then the belief gets destroyed right in that moment. And when that happens, energy shifts. And when energy shifts, I tend to yawn and cough. And so there's already something going on in this call. Paige is in a position where she's ready to let go of some beliefs. So we're already getting an energy shift starting, which is amazing. And so that's what's going to be happening in the next little while. And with Paige, I don't know how she reacts to energy. So we're going to find out. So she may yawn, or she may feel like she's getting tingles, or she may get hot or cold. But we're just going to let that happen however it happens. She may not feel anything. Some people just have no physical sensations as energy shifts. But we're gonna go along for the ride and see what happens.
In Reiki sessions of letting go of other people's expectations and responsibility and freeing my throat chakra and expression, I started laughing a lot.
Okay, so there might be some laughing coming up. Okay, thank you for the warning. We'll see. Okay, so here we are. Are you willing to step out of the story that people aren't willing to pay you a lot for what you know?
Yes.
Ooh, yeah. I see the smiles coming up. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is all about connecting with the right people,
Yeah.
because you even need just that one person that can spark things off. If you have, say, a C-level executive that has someone they love that has a brain injury, and that person hears about you, they're going to say, Paige, here's some money. Like I want this to work. I want you to create that business, create that foundation, create whatever it is, and I'll make sure you're taken care of. So you just need that one connection. But if you have a lot of other connections so that money's just flowing, that's fine too. So okay. Is building this business does building this business have to be really hard?
Nope.
Okay, I'm feeling resistance on that one, which means you consciously believe that, but you unconsciously do not believe that. So, are you willing to step out of the story that building this business has to be really hard?
Yes. Seeing the big picture out of context tends to be paralyzing for me.
Okay. And that's, that comes down to just looking at what's ahead of you. So one of the analogies one of my coaches told me, he said, a mountain climber looks at the top of the mountain and that can be daunting. But when she's actually climbing the mountain, all she's worried about is where the next handhold is, where the next foothold is, and everything is just around her as she's moving up the mountain. Every now and then she looks up to see how she's going, how the progress is going. But most of the time, it's just those little steps that you're taking right away. So are you willing to step out of the story that what you're planning is so big, it has to overwhelm you?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a deep one, actually. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, you do release by laughing. I've never seen that one before. I like that one. Ooh, okay. Okay. How's that feel?
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt a good shift there.
Yeah.
So in building your business, what are the resources you're looking for?
I've gotten some steps together for the program to blueprint it, and what my questions would be is on the fulfillment side, and what do I actually need for both that and referring people to practitioners.
Okay. So it sounds like you're trying to create a nice big practitioner database.
Yeah.
Okay. So any practitioners that would like to be part of this database, like to be the part of the program, they can contact you. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Right now, my email address is pagespearspeaking@gmail.com, and I can also be found on Instagram at Choose Greater Health and Clubhouse. And I'm also on LinkedIn as Paige Spears and Facebook.
Okay. And what on Clubhouse is it Choose Greater Health as well?
Paige Spears on Clubhouse.
Okay. All right. And what advice would you have for people that are going through what you're going through?
To be as curious as possible about everything, and that will get you farther and remove judgment.
All right. That's one thing I always tell people too, to get rid of that judgment. So, yeah, so we're on the page, the same page there. So we have a couple listeners immediately on Zoom. If either of you has any questions for Paige, just raise your hand. and we'll get to that. But other than that, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned on your journey?
That I can be authentic and celebrate my authenticity. And if staying on that path will get me where I need to go in life, and there are always options available.
Wow. So that's amazing advice for anyone and whatever they're doing in their life. And I just love that, hearing that from you. That was great.
There are more options available now than there were 15 years ago or so, certainly.
Yeah. And we just keep going there, more and more options every day, which is the great thing about the way the world's working. Okay. So sorry, there's a little bit of energy moving, so I'm just sort of quiet here. There's still some stuff happening.
I've also participated in Art Geyser's Be a Joyful Empath challenge this week.
What is the Joyful Empath Challenge?
It's something that Art Geyser does with energetic NLP to shift things energetically for us as a group around certain beliefs that we've had, and things like clearing telepathic channels and giving us tools like magnets to use to remove inauthentic energy and replace it with our own authentic energy.
Wow. So use magnets to remove inauthentic energy.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
By imagination and pretending it works,
Okay.
and our miraculous self, and that's a combination of our soul and spirit, and put that in charge, and it does work for us.
Okay. And it sounds like you this energy work that you do with the magnets, with the Reiki, has been a big part of your recovery.
Yeah, even since college, when I first got interested in things like Munaki and shamanism, and then later, just after I moved to Missouri for the first few years, I was part of a Temple of the Threefold Flame group, and we worked with sacred geometry and ascended masters and anchor the incoming energies.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you've got a lot of experience, don't you?
I'm
Okay.
an old soul of sorts, also.
I can tell that, just the way you talk and the lessons, the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's just, there's a lot of wisdom there, and I just, the way you see the big picture is amazing. Although sometimes the big picture feels a little overwhelming for you, at least you're seeing it and moving towards it, which is great. And yeah, and I hope all those resources fall into place. So far, it sounds like you've got a knack for things falling into place. So I'm pretty sure it's just going to keep getting better as you go along.
Yeah, as I clear more out, there's more space for new things to come in.
Absolutely.
And I've also done James Lamb's 5-day challenge of creating the 5 steps to magnetizing your ideal clients in business, and that the core of that is what do you have that you want to run towards in your business and what you're creating for your audience and clients.
Nice. And so when you did that exercise, what did you come up with exactly of what you want to run towards?
To creating a better experience in life and wellness and business for myself and my clients.
Nice. Okay. So with your clients, how's that going on right now?
I've been mostly doing pro bono work, helping friends and acquaintances
Mhm.
or who find what I know useful.
Okay. And are you seeing progress there? Are they seeing the difference between your program and the other programs?
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, in the brain injury support group, my referrals have been helpful.
Nice. All right. No, I'm glad to see that this is working. And I think what you're doing is amazing and really needs to be out there because you're right. The holistic approach is the way to go. The combination of the Western and the Eastern is what's going to get people to out of the uh, I don't want to say like, but out of that suffering place to that place where there's possibility and they're able to create a better life for themselves more than just be on medication all the time.
Absolutely. And when we tend to our own systems, then we can fortify ourselves and be healthy and good people to be around.
Absolutely, yes. The environment is also a crucial factor. You want to be around those great people. All right. So thank you for being on the show, Paige. It was great having you here. And the guests have your information to get in contact with you. And I'm sure I'm going to be seeing you at various summits that I'm attending, since we're running in the same circles.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah. Any final words before we end the show?
Again, keep up the curiosity, and there are options to be discovered. And uh, as soon as you can reconnect with your joy and lightness, the better.
All right. Thank you so much. And that's it for this month. We'll be back again next month with or without a new guest. I haven't scheduled anyone yet, so I have no idea what's going to happen. But I also want to remind everyone there are the Breakthrough Show, Project Joy, uh, Ask Crystal, all available on the Breakthrough Show Network, which is where we're broadcasting from right now. So please tune into those other shows. They are amazing. And if you are following me today, we have the next webinar happening at 6:30 Eastern on business, and then another one at 10 o'clock Eastern on something to do with the mind. What is it? Mindset. That's it. Mindset and belief shifting. So tune in for those. Other than that, thank you for joining in to Rewriting Reality. I am Shiraz, and I will see you next month. Be well, be aware, and be magical.